Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's business meeting. My name is Brad Gottschall, and I am the Lower Paxton Township Manager. And in typical fashion, I'll give a brief summary of tonight's board agenda before we begin. Under old business, Chairman Henry will entertain an appointment of a member to the Township Authority Board. The board will then consider a proposal from Shamball Utility Consulting, a utility rate consultant, in negotiating with Capital Region Water. Next, the board will consider resolutions 19-0501 through 19-0511, which authorize the acquisition of temporary and permanent easements for sidewalk and ADA ramps in conjunction with the BC2A, B, and C sewer and stormwater project. Finally, under old business, the board will act on an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Dauphin in regard to the county's bridge bundling program for the purpose of addressing the McIntosh Road Bridge. Under new business, the board will consider Resolution 19-03, which reaffirms the township's emergency operations plan. The board will then consider change order number 2, dealing with the closeout of an agreement with Ebersol Excavating for the 2018 Township Drainage Improvement Project. Finally, before acting on improvement guarantees and payment of bills, the board will act on Resolution 18-54 and 19-04, authorizing the acceptance of certain roadways within the Chelsea Falls development and Autumn Oaks development, respectively, and the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for Windchase Phase 2. So at this point, the board members are seated and prepared to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. If everyone would please stand, Mr. Judd will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now move to the approval of minutes from the meetings of September 11th, September 18th, October 2nd, and October 9th of 2018. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of the minutes of 9/11/18, 9/18/18, 10/2/18, and 10/9/18.
Approval of the minutes has been moved. Is there a second? Second?
Sorry.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Before we go into public comment, I would like to announce that prior to the meeting this evening, the board met in executive session to meet with legal counsel to discuss legal and personnel issues. With that, is there any public comment on an item not on the agenda tonight? Mr. Murphy, how are you this evening?
Joe Murphy, Lower Paxton Township Historical Commission. It's time for our monthly commercial. This coming Thursday, we will be having a meeting, and our historical presentation will be on the African American orphanage and Masonic home that was outside of Linglestown on Linglestown Road. Very few people are aware of this home. It was actually chartered in 1908 and ran up to 1955. We have a couple guests coming, one who lived across the street from the home that will tell us some stories about what it was like to play with the kids and be involved with them. And at our last meeting, we had a couple people that were on the bus going to Lower Paxton School with the kids and remember them well. So we hope to have some stories that will interest people. So we want to invite everybody out. We're expecting a good crowd for this meeting. We also, next month, will be having another historical presentation on the South Mountain Railroad, which a few people remember went through Linglestown back in the late 1800s. The track never got laid, but there still is a cut going through some of the private property in Linglestown where the railroad was supposed to be laid, and we will have more information on that at our next meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. And if folks have not, I encourage them to like your Facebook page, because you have been posting a lot of old photographs that are really amazing to look at, especially if they're a well-known part of the township and you look at what was there and what is here. They're very, very interesting.
Yeah, just before the holidays, we had our biggest post. We put up an aerial shot of the Harrisburg Drive-In. We also did a close-up of the drive-in, and we threw in what looked to be the drive-in in the collection of pictures, just to get people talking. And we reached over 5,000 people with that. And had our largest amount of comments because everybody was trying to figure out where the second drive-in was. So it was a little bit of fun to get people talking. But we've had a tremendous reaction to the Facebook page. So if you haven't seen it, try to sneak on somebody's Facebook page so you can take a look at it.
Joe, Thursday, when and where?
It's going to be in this room Thursday at 6 p.m. We probably won't get to the presentation till almost 6:30. Presentation will last about 35 minutes.
Joe, with your presentation on Thursday night, I know the school ran up to about, and I think you said, and I agree, 1952. Are there any of those students still around in our area, or have you not been able to track any of them down?
We have not. We are trying to track them down. There a couple of the things we're going to ask people is to try to give us information if they have it, if they know of any of the people, so that next year in February we can maybe get some of their relatives in here. We're also, this is going to be our first application for a state historical marker. We feel the orphanage and school is more than eligible for this marker, and so we're working with the Masonic Temple in Philly and see if we can't get something going by the end of the year.
Great.
So it's a forgotten area that it really shouldn't be. We just found out last week there was a cemetery on the property, and the lodge had no record of it, so they were glad to hear that we found that. So it's going to be very interesting Thursday.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board on an item not on the agenda this evening? Seeing no other public comment, we will now move to chairman and board member comments. Other than to say it's good that today seems to be the first day of spring, I don't have any comments. How about other members of the board? Mrs. Lindsay?
Why do you always go?
Because you are our ace in the field reporter who keeps us informed of community events. That's why.
Okay, so the board hasn't been here for 2 weeks, but we have been very busy. We attended the COG Recognition Night. We've also attended the South Central EMS Appreciation Night. And just wanted to let the residents know we are continuing to work on the TNR program for the feral cats. Frank Boldock was a manager back in the 80s here. And unfortunately, last week he passed away. So if you could keep his family in your prayers. And I'd like to thank Officer Cook on Saturday. He did the active shooter training at the Calvary United Methodist Church. It was very informative. We probably had about 150 people. We invited 25 churches from Lower Paxton Township to attend. And like I said, there was probably about 150. So thank you, Director Kishiba, for letting him to do that. So that's it.
Saw a robin in the backyard today, too.
Oh, that's good.
Ah.
That's a good sign.
That's important.
That's
A
good
Robin or
sign.
Robin?
Saw a robin.
A Robin, okay.
Hey, Robin.
Any other members have a comment? No? Okay, thank you. At this point, we will move on to the manager's report. Mr. Godshall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you very much. I have a few items tonight, if I may entertain the board for a few moments. So first, the Friendship Center. The Friendship Center has been experiencing some temperature control issues as a result of a mechanical malfunction within the pool area's HVAC system. The center's director and facility managers have been working tirelessly to maintain customer comfort and pride within the facility during this time, and township management has been working with the director to ensure that the issue is worked out as soon as possible. I'll, of course, keep the board informed going forward on this matter if there are any developments. On the township's website, you will find an announcement on the opening of registration for the 2019 Citizens Police Academy. The academy runs from February 25th through a date sometime in May and is held on Monday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. From the website, you may also obtain an application which should be submitted to the police department by February 18th at 4 p.m. The township is currently accepting applications for a number of seasonal public works laborer positions. The position is compensated at $14 an hour and will be available from early spring until late summer or fall of 2019. Interested individuals may view the posting, of course, on the website and also access an application through the same website. So we encourage those who are interested in that position to go ahead and send in an application. Also, in the board's packet and also on the public agenda this week, you will find what I have been talking about for a number of months now since my appointment on November 5th, and that is my entry plan. The township board, and particularly Mr. Chrisman, brought me the idea of putting together a plan which is typically seen in the field of education. So what typically happens, as I understand and as I've done research on, is that administrators coming into a new school district will be prompted to do an entry plan, and that is to meet with key staff, key individuals within the community, and of course board members, to get an understanding from each of those individuals what their perspectives individually are on the, in that case, school district, but in our case, the township. And since November 5th, actually November 8th, 2 days after I started with the township, I've been meeting with my staff, meeting with members of the community, and of course meeting with board members to do just that, get their opinions on the township, where they feel it is currently positioned and where they would like to see the township in the future. And so this is very atypical in the world of municipal management. I've never done one in any of the municipalities I've been in. And after speaking to a number of my colleagues throughout the region and the Commonwealth, they haven't done one either. And so it's very unique to have had the opportunity to do this, and actually it's worked out quite well. I've learned since the moment I got here about township issues from a perspective that I might not have received unless I would have done this plan. So it's given me a really unique perspective on township affairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this entry plan out to the board and to the public in phases. Tonight is phase 1, and the document that hopefully you have read, but if not, you can read it at your leisure. Just outlines again what an entry plan is, what I just explained, and also explains some of the meetings I've had, who I've had them with, when I held them, and also outlines a schedule in which the remaining phases will be released. And that's what I want to focus on right now. Tonight, obviously, is the 5th that I'm giving phase number 1. On the 19th, right before this board again, I'll be releasing phase 2, which is a presentation of the themes of the interviews that I have conducted, the one-on-one interviews, the themes and the findings. And I've made it very clear to the individuals that I was interviewing that the findings will be released in an anonymous way. I don't, put anybody's name to words, and that in that way I was able to get, I think, the most honest and open dialogue from the individuals on how they feel the township currently is positioned. So I'll do that on the 19th, release those findings. On March 19th, then, a month later, I will do phase 3, which is a presentation of my own perspective and goals for moving forward. That's a way that I'm able to kind of show my digestion, if you will, of the overall themes and findings, and put to them my own views and eventual goals and my own thoughts. And then the last phase is phase 3A, which will be released April 2nd, and that is the complete package, the complete entry plan, which includes all the phases, as well as hopefully I'll be asking the board to go ahead and adopt the plan, because the plan really has full respect and support if there is board action on that. So the board will be asked to go ahead and take a look at the plan, my goals and objectives, and kind of give, if you will, your blessing to those goals. So I hope you get a chance to read this phase 1, and moving forward the remaining phases, and hopefully we can put together a plan that encapsulates, all feelings of the township, and we can keep rolling in a very positive manner.
Well, I will say this, I've never actually read one of these entry plans before. Mr. Chrisman, I'm sure, has read many of them. But I was very impressed with the, first of all, number of people you were able to talk with in a short period of time. That's and it's sort of a who's who of Lower Paxton Township government in our community, and you managed to do that over the holidays on top of it. So congratulations on what I think was an excellent effort. Mr. Chrisman is more expert at these plans than I, but I think it was I wasn't expecting something quite that detailed and thorough.
And Mr. Gutschall, I would commend you for doing an excellent job. If you were in my graduate class, I would be more than happy to authorize 3 graduate credits for this program. You have done an excellent job, and I appreciate your laying out for us each of the phases of the work that you're doing in the presentations that will be yet to come. I think not only is it a learning experience for you as you come into our community, but I think it's a great opportunity for the members of our community to get to know you as well, so that we will build a great bond between you, this board, and our community. So thank you very much. I appreciate the efforts that you've put into this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good job, Brad.
Norm gets right to
Norm,
the
that
point.
was much better than me.
You have 3A up there. Does that mean we're going to get a 3B, or should that be a 4?
We're going to 3 Bs.
Oh, we can go to 3Bs. That works. Okay, well, in any event, I think not only a good job, but it's very helpful that there's an outreach to get that amount of public input. It's probably something we should do more often, not just when we get a new township manager, which occurs every 28 years, hopefully. Okay, anything else on your report?
That is it. Thank you.
Is it? Okay. Then we will move along to old business, and we do have an opening on the Lower Paxton Township Authority Board, and we have an individual who has stepped forward to volunteer and are ready to proceed with an appointment. So there may be one minor issue. Are we prepared for a motion?
I think we are.
Yeah.
There's no issues, are there?
No? No issue? Okay. Do we have a motion then for the appointment? Yeah,
Need
that's
the
the
name.
issue. I don't see a name associated.
That's what I'm looking
Thanks,
for
Yeah,
in order to make the motion.
That was my minor issue.
Oh, that was your minor issue.
What is it?
Can Brent?
Oh, that's right.
Ramsey.
Thank you. It's been a while since we talked. David Ramsey, that's embarrassing.
Yes.
I was actually hoping that somebody else would have remembered.
I did not
but
have it
nobody
written in.
did.
Yeah.
To the point, we did have opportunity to meet with Mr. Ramsey and have lengthy discussions with him, and he has a fair amount of personal qualifications for this position, and it's my understanding that the Authority Board would welcome him And now I will never forget his name again after this. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the appointment of Mr. Ramsey as a member of the Lower Paxton Township Authority Board.
thank you for that. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments?
None.
If not, all those in favor of appointing David Ramsey to the Authority Board, please indicate by saying aye. 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 Okay. So he is so appointed, and that gives us a full Authority Board. So now we need to take action on a proposal from Shambaugh Utility Consulting LLC, and this would be to provide assistance to the LPT Authority, which we just referenced, in negotiating the 2017 True Up Credit with Capital Region Water. Mr. Weaver, you're going to explain all this to us.
Yes,
Good
indeed,
evening.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Members of the board, you have attached the consulting engagement letter with Shambaugh Utility LLC for approval or your consideration tonight. As requested by staff, Mr. Shambaugh has provided the engagement letter to assist the authority with the disputed CRW 2017 true-up credit. So Mr. Shambaugh has provided in his proposal the four things that staff has requested, and the fifth thing, of course, is providing a written report with his findings and recommendations regarding the true-up credit for the board to review with staff. As you may recall, the true-up credit that was provided by CRW was $1.2 million. However, they have subtracted from that $1.1 million as part of the AR balance that was outstanding after 2018, based on the billing method that was recommended by our special counsel. So essentially, what you're approving tonight is an engagement letter for the board to authorize Shambaugh Utility Consulting to not exceed $15,000 to review those four items. Staff is recommending the approval of the engagement letter since we're out $1.1 million, and a $15,000 investment to get $1.1 million, I believe, is pretty good. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
It's a better return than the equity markets have been lately. So that's.
Right.
Any questions for Mr. Weaver? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the proposal from Shambaugh Utility Consulting LLC to provide assistance to the LPT Authority in negotiating the 2017 true-up credit with Capital Region Water in the amount not to exceed $15,000 as presented by Mr. Weaver.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Any board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Weaver, you have the next item as well. And this is authorizing acquisition of temporary and permanent easements for sidewalks and ADA ramps.
Yes. Board members, attached you have the 11 properties that will require either a temporary or a permanent easement for sidewalk and ADA ramp construction as part of the BC2 project, which the board is very familiar with. This is a $20 million project. We just did receive our Penvest loan, so we're in process of working with Penvest and our bond counsel to close on that loan. So specifically, these ramps are required as part of the ADA regulations. Anytime the township improves the street and it traverses a ramp, then you have to upgrade it to the current ADA regulations, which many of these ramps, of course, were built decades ago and do not comply with the current regulations. So staff had entertained proposals. We had most qualified and the lowest cost was HB Engineering. They specialize in doing nothing but ADA ramps. They've provided the township with the ADA ramp designs along with the easements that are required. And I provided the example of what a permanent easement looks like as part of the drawing, which is the plat that goes with the easement to the actual resident to show the reason for the easement. It's sort of silly, but it is the legal requirements. We're really only going 2 or 3 feet outside the right of way in most cases, but because you're going on someone's private property, you do have to acquire the easement. The only other note that I talked to Steve about, ironically, is the ADA ramps are actually part of the homeowner's responsibility. They're owned by the township, but the responsibility of the property owners to maintain these, they have to clear the snow and so forth. But that it may create some confusion because these things don't typically go out, but I'm sure between Steve and I, we can explain that there's really no cost to the property owner. This is part of the project, and it's going to be done at no cost to them. So I hope to have no problems. But again, these resolutions are just authorizing the solicitor and staff to negotiate terms that are the best interest of the authority to acquire the easement and do the project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Weaver, can you give me a landmark, Amy Drive and Jeffrey Circle? I know where the other ones are, but I'm not.
So all these are north of Blue Ridge Avenue and just south of Linglestown Road. That's basically the whole BC2 project. We finished the old project of BC3 at Blue Ridge Avenue, and now we're just continuing now from north of Blue Ridge Avenue up to Linglestown Road.
Okay.
And then to the east would be Wenrick, and then to the west is North Mountain Road.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolutions 1905-01 through 1905-11?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve resolutions 2019-0501 through 2019-05-11, which authorizes the acquisition of temporary and permanent easements for sidewalks and ADA ramps for the BC 2A BC project as presented by Mr. Weaver.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. We also, as outlined by Mr. Gottschall prior to the meeting, need to take action on an intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement with the County of Dauphin for the purposes of building a bridge. Mr. Gottschall.
Yes, sir. Members of the board. So during your January 15th workshop, the board was presented with the intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement between the township and the County of Dauphin in regard to the county's bridge bundling program. This agreement specifically will address the reconstruction of McIntosh Road Bridge using a 60-40 share in project costs, the township, of course, being responsible for only 40%. Once approved tonight, the township has until March 27th, 2019, to identify the source of local funding for the project, and then until April 1st of 2020 to deposit such funds into the established escrow account. Anticipated construction will commence May 2020 with completion of May 2021. That is all.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement with the County of Dauphin?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the intermunicipal cost-sharing agreement with the County of Dauphin for the purpose of a bridge bundling program as presented and recommended by Mr. Gottschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional board member questions or comments?
As long as they're going to pay for some of it, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
What was the comment?
But as long as they're going to pay for it, that's, pay for part of it, that's a no-brainer.
And I believe then this will bring us to all of our bridges being where they,
At least in our township, I
at
think.
least in our town. Well, I think
this
not
is
only in
Red
our
Top.
township, but the county.
One more.
I thought
Or-
red top.
That's underway.
I thought that was,
We're in the process of planning for it, if nothing
Planning
else,
for
right?
it, but it hasn't
Yeah.
been started, but we're planning. What'd you say, Jeff? About 2 years away. And then I think they'll all be done then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That moves us to new business. We have before us Resolution 2019-03, and this would reaffirm the township's emergency operations plan. Mr. Gottschall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. So every 2 years, the township must reaffirm its emergency operations plan, ensuring its conformance with the Dauphin County Emergency Operations Guideline. The plan establishes procedures for the mitigation of injury and damage caused by a major emergency or disaster. The plan and resolution were reviewed by the Township Emergency Management Coordinator, Mr. Ralph Palm of the Police Department.
So all the appropriate individuals have reviewed the plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Well, Brett, so what goes into the review? This seems like a
pretty big deal that one of these things you don't look at until something happens.
Director Koshiba, do you have any comment to provide on Mr. Palm's engagement in this process? Sure.
Yeah.
Come to the podium, yes.
And I know, obviously, there's a lot of details, certain things we may not want to talk about, but just over generally how the review process, who looked at it.
So, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come up. So, Mr. Palm does take a look at these, and like the manager had said, it's a 2-year renewal. So, what we do is look at the old plan to make sure that there's no required updates within our operation, within the fire departments, within the EMS and police side of things. If there are any changes, it's adjusted accordingly. There were no drastic changes in this particular instance, so I don't want to say it's a rubber stamp, but we review it to make sure that there are no improvements that we can make to the plan. Mr. Palm speaks with me about that.
So it's really for required changes unless something, it's not that we're sitting down trying to reimagine how to do things. We feel we already have that. This is just to make sure and no requirements have changed and that.
That's correct. We examine the plan to make sure that we might find a better way of new technology, if you would, other ways of adjusting the plan. But in this particular case, there were no major developments or new changes to that plan. So it went forward with next to no changes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're always reviewing to make sure that if we do have some type of emergency, we're where we need to be.
Without question, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Director.
Yes, members of the board, if I may, I just, a lasting comment on that. Most municipalities do not have a full-time emergency management coordinator. So Lower Paxton is extremely blessed to have that individual to act in the capacity full-time that Mr. Palm does. He and the entire public safety department are constantly monitoring that plan and what they do in emergency situations. So we're already miles ahead of the game.
Good.
That's good to hear. Any additional board member questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2019-03, which reaffirms the township's emergency operations plan as presented by Mr. Gutschall.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any public questions or comments on the issue? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And now we have before us a change order number 2 to the agreement with Ebersol Excavating, Inc. for the 2018 Township Drainage Improvements Project. Good evening, Mr. Hines.
Good evening, supervisors. Before you tonight is change order 2 for the drainage improvement project that occurred last year. The project is complete. This change order is the final change order in preparation for contract closeout that serves to reconcile the bid quantities with the final field measured and verified quantities. This results in an increase of approximately $23,000 from the prior contract price. The majority of that was attributed to the need to remove and replace unsuitable material that was encountered at the site. Essentially what happened was when we were excavating to put the new storm sewer in, the soil was unsuitable to place the pipe and the inlets in. So that needed to be taken out, hauled away, and then suitable material that's more well suited for construction was needed to be brought in its place.
Okay. Any questions?
Can't do anything with that.
No. Is there a
Right.
motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll approve change order. I move to approve change order number 2, which is the project closeout, to the agreement with Ebersol Excavating for an increase in the change order in the amount of $23,012.90 for the Township Drainage Improvement Project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to, yeah, you guys sat here for a long time to get to a 2-minute. Thank you for your patience. We now move to subdivision and land development issues, and I see Mrs. is with us, and we will begin with proposed resolution 2018-54, which would authorize the acceptance of portions of Elwell Drive and Egret Drive of the Chelsea Falls Development Phase 1.
Correct. Board members, you have before you the packet for the roadway dedication for Chelsea Falls, which is the dedication for portions of Elwell and Egret Drive. All the required inspections have been conducted and approved, and staff recommends approval of the dedication of portions of Chelsea Falls.
Seems to be rather straightforward.
Right.
Any questions or comments from board members?
And Ms. Zerby's making recommendation in favor of it. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-54, which authorizes the acceptance of the portions of Elwell Drive and Egret Drive of Chelsea Falls Development, which is Phase 1, as recommended by Mrs. Zerby.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That brings us to Resolution 2019-04. This would authorize the acceptance of portions of Autumn Oaks Drive, Post Drive, Sweet Birch Court, and Box Elder Court of the Autumn Oaks Development Phase 2.
Correct. You have the packet for that dedication before you, and all the required inspections have been conducted and approved, and staff recommends approval of the dedications of portions of the Autumn Oaks Phase 2 roadways.
Again, rather
That's pretty
straightforward.
She said everything has been approved. It's a recommendation of staff. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2019-04, which authorizes the acceptance of portions of Autumn Oaks Drive, Post Drive, Sweet Birch Court, Box Elder Court of the Autumn Oaks Development Phase 2 as presented and recommended by Ms. Zerby.
Motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And now we have the preliminary/final subdivision and land development plan for Wind Chase 2. Mrs. Zerby.
Yes, the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for Wind Chase 2 proposes to combine by deed Lot 1, Lot 2, and Lot 3. The resulting combination of the common properties forms Lot 4. Lot 4 will have a total area of 7.4961 acres and will consist of 21 townhome units. The required parking facilities, driveway access, lighting, stormwater management facilities, and other utilities shall be constructed as shown on the plan. The site is located in the R2 residential medium density zoning district and will be served by public sewer and water supply. The plan went before the Planning Commission on January 9th, 2019 and was approved. The applicant has requested the following 5 waivers. Number 1, a waiver of the requirement to set monuments at all property corners. Staff supports this waiver request. All property corners are currently marked with iron pins and no new boundary lines are being created. Number 2, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement to provide illumination in accordance with the lighting table. Staff supports this waiver request as the layout of lighting fixtures is such that it allows for the adequate maneuvering of emergency vehicles without obstruction. Number 3, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement that all driveways shall intersect streets only at right angles. Staff supports this waiver request. The lot connects Lancer Street at a dead end, and it's not possible to configure the driveways to intersect at a right angle. Number 4, the applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement that driveways shall not be located closer than 5 feet from an inlet or fire hydrant. Staff supports this waiver request. The lot connects to Lancer Street at a dead end, and the inlets that are in question are existing. And number 5, a waiver that the perimeter plantings around parking lots be provided in addition to perimeter landscaped areas. Staff supports this waiver request. The proposed layout of the landscaping achieves the intended purpose of the perimeter landscaping. There are also 4 administrative comments and 5 general comments that will need to be satisfied before recording. And Nick DeSanto is here to represent the plan and answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Mr. DeSanto, good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Yourself?
All right.
Any questions? Wow. No questions for Mr. DeSanto?
Oh, I do.
I was going to say, Mr. Chrisman, usually you have a list of
Yes.
questions.
The first thing is, I'm assuming you have the documents in front of you for the questions I'm going to ask so that they can be recorded.
I do.
You do. First will be a comment rather than a question to you. My comment is there are 5 waiver requests. Obviously, you have done well in presenting them to Ms. Zerby because she and her staff have reviewed and have supported those. So you must have done a good job before her. So to you, I give you kudos, and to staff, Ms. Zerby, I give you credit also for your constant review and constantly watching those things very carefully. All right, now specifically, there are 4 administrative comments. I'd like you to comment on those, please. Have all of those either A, been completed or will be completed in a timely fashion acceptable to Lower Paxton Township staff?
They will be completed.
Will be.
Will be.
Okay, I want to make sure it's recorded properly. And there are 5 general comments, and specifically comment number 5, which is the letter dated January the 2nd, 2019, which has 17 comments as prepared by Jason from HRG. Have all of those either been completed or will be completed in a timely fashion acceptable to township staff?
They are all in progress and will be completed on. Yes, they will all be completed in a reasonable time.
You better say
Say
that
it.
if you want a motion,
Yes.
because Ms. Zerby's going to monitor that very carefully, and she will tell us. Okay, having gotten the approbation for the questions received, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion if the chair so desires.
Please proceed with the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for Wind Chase 2, Plan 18-35, with the 5 listed and staff-supported waivers, the 4 administrative comments that they will in fact have been or will be completed in a timely fashion acceptable to township staff, and the 5 general comments, and specifically number 5, and that all of those will be have been completed or will be completed in a timely fashion acceptable to township staff, and especially number 5, the 17 comments from HRG. It's a lot.
So moved. I will not ask you to repeat the motion.
Thank you.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any additional questions or comments? Any public question or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. DeSanto, there you go.
Thank you very much. Have
You
a
are
good evening.
You have a good evening, too.
Good job.
That now takes us to improvement guarantees. And,
There are 7.
yes. Street dedication. Okay. Any questions relative to the proposed improvement guarantees?
I only have one question for Mr. Gutschall. I don't see any of these that are out of orders or anything that's exceptional there, or maybe
No.
Ms. Zerby may know too. Is there anything out of? Okay, that's all right. I just thought I'd add. Everything looks good if that's true. As I said, I didn't see anything. Mr. Chairman, then I would have moved approval of the 7 improvement guarantees, which include reductions, extensions, letter of credit, and yes.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That brings us to the payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion, we pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township, Lower Paxton Township Authority, the Township P-Card Register for August, September, October, with the also P-Card remittance for August, September, October, and the Lower Paxton Township Authority P-Card Register, August, September, October, and also the Authority P-Card remittance for August, September, and October.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any additional announcements from the board? Other than to wish our manager a happy birthday tomorrow. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You survived us over the past year, so I hope you have a very happy birthday tomorrow.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, do you have one?
Nope.
No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.